You still messing around with that little app thing? Nick asked, his mouth full of steak, like he couldn't be bothered to care and couldn't wait to laugh. Madeline giggled, swirling her wine. She's been working on it since, 2019? That's dedication, or delusion. I smiled and cut into my salmon, pretending it didn't sting. It's a privacy tool, AI-based. I've been reworking the architecture. Nick leaned back in his chair, shaking his head. You're cute when you talk like that. But babe, no one's going to pay for another privacy app. That ship sailed. She just likes to tinker, Madeline added, reaching for the bread basket. It's her thing, like knitting, but with code. I laughed softly, but my fingers tightened around the fork. My name's Marlene. I'm 34, and apparently my husband and my sister think my skills are a joke. Dinner was at our place, our monthly family night. They'd brought wine and big energy. I brought patience. Nick and Madeline were buzzing about their startup, dropping names of investors, talking launch dates, throwing around words like disruption and scaling. I mostly listened. By the way, I said, keeping my tone light, I noticed some weird charges in the joint account, like a few thousand missing. Did you move something? Nick waved it off. Probably just auto payments. I'll check. Madeline jumped in. Oh my God, speaking of payments, guess who we finally got to sign on? Sawyer Young. Like, the Sawyer. We're officially not broke anymore. I nodded, but my mind stayed on the missing money. I'd been careful with our savings. I used to handle all the finances, back when Nick was still figuring out how to open a business account. I remembered setting up QuickBooks for him, showing him how to invoice. Now he had a CFO and an assistant. And apparently, I had questions. After they left, I cleaned the kitchen in silence. The dishwasher hummed as I wiped down the counters. My laptop sat open on the island, the cursor blinking in the middle of a script I'd been debugging all week. I should have gone back to it. Instead, I walked into Nick's office. He always left his laptop on. I told him 100 times to lock it, but he never listened. What's anyone going to do, hack my calendar? He'd say. I wasn't looking to snoop. Not really. I just wanted to see if he'd moved money somewhere. That's all. His email was open. A flagged message near the top caught my eye. Subject line, Wire Confirmation, WCS LLC. I clicked. The body of the email was short. Transfer of $48,000 from joint account ending in 8832 to Watts Creative Solutions, LLC confirmed. Timestamp, 4:42 p.m. I stared at it, then read it again. WCS, Watts Creative Solutions. That wasn't one of our vendors. That wasn't anything I recognized. And that was my account. I opened the attachments. There were 4 transfers, all within the last 6 months, all large, all from accounts I'd opened, accounts I'd funded. My stomach dropped. I backed out of the email and opened his downloads folder. There was a PDF labeled Cap Table, WCS. I clicked. Nick's name. Madeline's name. No mention of me, no mention of any loan or investment, just ownership percentages, 60-40. I closed the laptop. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood there, staring at the dark screen, my reflection faint in the glass. The next morning, I made coffee like usual. Nick came in, kissed my cheek, and asked if I wanted to go to brunch on Sunday. I said sure. He left for the office. I waited until the garage door closed, then went back to his laptop. I needed to be sure. I opened the browser history, searched WCS, found a Dropbox link, password protected, but the hint was Mad's birthday. I typed it in. It worked. Inside the folder were pitch decks, business plans, investor lists, all branded with WCS, all featuring Nick and Madeline. In one deck, there was a slide titled The Origin Story. I clicked, and there it was. A paragraph describing how the idea came from late-night talks over wine and whiteboards, how Nick and Madeline had dreamed up a privacy assistant that could learn user behavior and adapt in real time. My code? My concept? Word for word? I closed the folder and sat back. The room felt smaller, like the walls were inching in. I looked around at the framed photos, our wedding in Cabo, Christmas with Madeline in Aspen, Nick holding our dog like a baby. I felt stupid. I felt used. I opened my own laptop, pulled up the old prototype I'd been working on. It was messy, unfinished, but it was mine. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I started typing, not out of rage, not even out of sadness, out of clarity. They thought I was a hobbyist, a background character in their origin story. Fine. Let's see how they handle a plot twist. Hey, you have a minute? Brian looked up from his monitor, pushed his glasses up his nose, and smiled. For you? Always. I closed the door behind me and sat down across from him. I'd never done this before. Ask for help like this. But if anyone would get it, it was Brian. He was the only person at work who ever took my coding seriously. I need to track some financial activity, I said, keeping my voice low. Like, really track it. Hidden transfers, account routing, the works. He raised an eyebrow. You think someone's stealing from you? I hesitated. I know they are. I just need to prove it. Brian didn't ask who. He just nodded slowly. Okay, first thing. Stop using your personal devices. Anything you've logged into on shared Wi-Fi, assume it's compromised. Already did, I said. I've got a clean laptop at home, air-gapped. I've been using it to work on something else. He leaned forward. What kind of something? An AI-based privacy assistant, behavior-driven encryption, adaptive firewall, self-learning protocols. I started it years ago. I'm finishing it now. Brian blinked. You built that solo? Still building it, I said. But yeah. He let out a low whistle. Damn, Marlene, that's not a hobby. That's a weapon. I smiled for the first time in days. Back at home, I dug in. Every night after Nick went to bed, I slipped into the guest room and worked. The air-gapped laptop hummed quietly as I ran simulations, cleaned up old code, and added new modules. I also started pulling financial records, old bank statements, transaction logs, even screenshots from years ago. I was building a case, one line of data at a time. The pattern was clear. Every time Nick mentioned new friends investing, a chunk of money disappeared from one of my accounts. Not his, not theirs, mine. I dumped everything into a spreadsheet, date, amount, destination. I even cross-referenced it with the startup's public filings. It all lined up too perfectly. One night, I pulled up the old shared drive we used to use when Nick was first building his business. I hadn't touched it in years. The login still worked. Inside, a folder named Early Concepts. I clicked through it. There it was, my original notes from 2018. Diagrams, flowcharts, even a video of me explaining the app idea to Nick in our kitchen, back when I thought we were partners in life and in everything else. I scrolled further. A PDF titled Investor Deck Final. I opened it. Slide after slide, my concept laid out in bold fonts and sleek graphics. Except now, it was Nick and Madeline's faces on the team page. Not mine, not even a mention. My phone buzzed. Selena. Hey, random, but I just saw your sister and Nick on a podcast. They said they bootstrapped their startup from scratch, like 100% self-funded. Thought that was weird. I stared at the message. Selena and I hadn't talked in over a year. Not since Madeline subtly pushed her out of my life. Too negative, she'd said. Too jealous. Me. Do you have the link? She sent it immediately. I listened to the whole thing. Nick was smooth, charismatic. Madeline laughed at all the right moments. They told the story like it was a fairy tale. Two siblings-in-law with a dream. No mention of me, no mention of the money, just hard work, hustle, and sleepless nights fueled by ramen and ambition. I closed the video. My hands were shaking, but not from sadness, from focus. The next day, I called in sick. Then again, the day after that. I told my manager I was burnt out, that I needed a break. She was surprisingly understanding. I wasn't burnt out. I was building. I set up a new LLC under my name. I bought a domain. I registered the app as a proprietary product. I hired a lawyer, quietly, carefully, to help me lock it all down. I worked 18 hours a day. I barely ate. I barely slept. But the app came alive. It was sleek, fast, and smarter than I ever imagined. Every time I ran a test, it adapted faster, stronger, cleaner code, cleaner purpose. One night, as I watched the AI block a simulated phishing attempt in real time, I whispered, "Let's see them laugh at this." Then I emailed Brian. Me. "Beta's ready. Want to test it?" Brian. "Hell yes." He sent back a full test report within hours. "This is next level," he wrote. "You need to get this in front of someone big." I didn't have a name yet, but I had the product, I had the proof, and I had a fire in my chest that wouldn't go out. They thought I'd stay quiet. They thought I'd stay small. They were wrong. Madeline showed up unannounced on a Thursday afternoon, holding 2 overpriced iced coffees and wearing a blazer that screamed, "Startup chic." "I figured you'd be working from home," she chirped, stepping inside like she owned the place. "Thought I'd drop by and check on my favourite big sis." I forced a smile. "That's sweet. I've been decompressing." She handed me the coffee like it was a peace offering. "Nick said you've been a little off lately. Burnout? You used to be so good at balancing everything." I took a sip. Vanilla oat milk, no sugar. She remembered. "Yeah, well, life changes." Madeline plopped down on the couch, crossing her legs like she was settling in for a therapy session. "You know, I've been thinking about when we were kids. You always had your nose in a book, and I was the one playing dress-up. And now look at us, both in tech." I raised an eyebrow. "Is that what you call it?" She laughed. "Okay, fine. I'm the face. You're the brains. Or were, back when you actually shared your ideas." I sat across from her, keeping my expression neutral. "Funny you say that. I was just going through some old files, found the pitch deck with my diagrams in it." Her smile faltered for a split second. "Oh, that was just inspiration. You never finished it, so we thought—" I cut in. Madeline blinked. "Nick and I. We figured you'd moved on. You never made it official or anything." I leaned forward. "You used my savings." She looked down at her coffee. "We were going to pay you back, once we got funded. It was just easier to move fast." I stared at her. "You took my idea, my money, and didn't think I'd notice?" Madeline stood up, brushing imaginary lint off her blazer. "Marlene, you're acting like we robbed you. We're family. Sometimes you help each other out. That's what this is." "No," I said. "This is theft, dressed up in sisterly affection." She rolled her eyes. "God, you're so dramatic. You could have been part of this if you'd just spoken up sooner." "I did. Years ago." You both laughed. She opened her mouth to argue, then shut it. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then back at me. "Look, I have to run. We've got a meeting with Sawyer. But seriously, think about coming to the launch party. It's going to be huge. You deserve to see what you helped build." I didn't answer. She left without another word. As soon as the door closed, I walked to the kitchen, poured her coffee down the sink, and tossed the cup in the trash. That night, I opened my planner and made a new list. Finalize UI, encrypt server logs, back up everything twice, and start preparing for the party. I needed a distraction, so I messaged Selena. Me. "Thanks again for the podcast link. You free to talk sometime?" She replied in under a minute. Selena. "Yes. I've been waiting for you to say that." We met at a cafe near her office. She hugged me like no time had passed. "You look good," she said, eyeing me. "Better, actually, like focused." "I've been working on something." Selena sipped her espresso. "I figured. You always disappear when you're building. So what is it this time?" I pulled out my tablet and showed her the app. I let it run a live demo, blocking a fake phishing text, rerouting a malicious tracker, encrypting a file in real time. Her eyes widened. "Holy hell, you made this?" "From scratch." She leaned back, stunned. "This is better than half the crap I've seen pitched, and I sit through pitches every week. Have you shown this to anyone?" "Only one person. A friend from work. He tested it, said it's solid." Selena grinned. "I know someone at Ether AI. They're scouting indie apps for acquisition. You want me to make an intro?" I hesitated. "Would they take me seriously?" You're a woman with a working product and a clean code base. That's gold right now. Trust me. I nodded. Okay, let's do it. 2 days later, I was on a Zoom call with a rep from Ether. I used a pseudonym, Lena Hart, and presented the app like I was just another indie dev with a dream. He was quiet for most of the demo. Then he said, "This is brilliant. I want to loop in our director. Can you do another call tomorrow?" I kept my voice steady. Absolutely. The next call was longer. More questions, more interest. By the end, they were talking numbers. I had to mute myself to breathe. Later that night, I got the email. Subject: Acquisition terms, Ether AI. The number made my mouth go dry. $12 million. I stared at it for a long time. Then I opened my calendar and marked the date of Nick and Madeline's launch party. It was time to RSVP. The moment I walked into the glass-walled conference room, I knew I wasn't just another developer anymore. "Lena Hart?" the Ether rep asked, standing to shake my hand. "Yes," I said, smiling. "Thanks for having me." He motioned for me to sit. "We've reviewed everything. The product, the code, the scalability, the security layers. It's impressive. Really impressive," I nodded. "I've been building it for a while." He leaned forward. "We're ready to move forward. Our legal team has drafted the acquisition agreement, $12 million full buyout, and you retain naming rights if you want to stay involved post-acquisition." "Deal," I said, before I could overthink it. He grinned. "We'll wire the funds within 24 hours. Welcome to Ether." I walked out of the building with the paperwork in my bag and a strange calm in my chest. No fireworks, no tears, just a quiet certainty. I'd done it. That night, I sat on the floor of my living room with Brian, a bottle of champagne between us. "You're officially rich," he said, pouring us each a glass. "How does it feel?" Like I finally stopped waiting for someone to believe in me. He raised his glass. "To Lena Hart." We clinked glasses, and I laughed. "Are you really going to the launch party tomorrow?" he asked. "Oh, I'm not just going," I said. "I'm presenting." He blinked. "Please tell me you're not going to throw a drink in someone's face." "No theatrics," I said. "Just facts, and maybe a little fire." He leaned back, smiling. "Remind me never to cross you." The next day, I stood in front of my closet for 20 minutes before pulling out a black jumpsuit with clean lines and no frills. Confident, not flashy. I tied my hair back and added a single gold necklace. I didn't want to look like revenge. I wanted to look like success. The venue was a sleek rooftop downtown, filled with string lights and the sound of clinking glasses. I walked in alone, head high. Nick spotted me first. "Hey, babe, you made it." I kissed him on the cheek. Wouldn't miss it. Madeline appeared beside him, her smile tight. "You look great." "Thanks," I said. "You too." The crowd was full of investors, tech influencers, people I didn't recognize. I saw Sawyer in the corner, deep in conversation with a man holding a branded cocktail. Nick took the mic a few minutes later. "Thank you all for coming. We're so excited to officially launch What's Creative Solutions. It's been a journey. Late nights, early mornings, and a lot of coffee." Laughter. He continued. "We built this from the ground up. No shortcuts, just grit and vision." I felt my jaw tighten, but I didn't move. "And now," he said, "before we continue, my amazing wife has asked to say a few words. Marlene?" Madeline looked confused. Nick looked amused. I walked up slowly, took the mic, and smiled at the crowd. "Hi, I'm Marlene. You probably don't know me, but I helped build this company. Not with a title or a press release, but with my savings, my code, and my silence." A few people shifted uncomfortably. Nick laughed nervously. "Okay, babe, maybe now's not the time." I held up a flash drive. "I just want to show you something." I walked over to the AV table and handed it to the tech guy. "Can you load this up?" He plugged it in. The screen behind us flickered to life. A logo appeared. "Ether AI acquires groundbreaking indie privacy app for 12 millisecond per eternal gasps." Whispers. I turned back to the crowd. "This is my app. I created it. Alone. It's called Ghostlock. You'll be hearing a lot about it soon." I clicked to the next slide. Live screenshots of the interface, test results, media coverage from the last 24 hours. Then the final slide. A spreadsheet. Over the past 2 years, I said. Nick and Madeline transferred a total of $183,000 from my personal accounts into this startup, without my knowledge, without my consent. The spreadsheet scrolled automatically. Dates, amounts, destination, accounts. I documented everything, every transfer, every login, every password they used. I even found the pitch deck they built, using my original designs. The room was dead silent. Sawyer stepped forward, arms crossed. "Is this true?" Nick stammered. "She's twisting things. She said we could use it." "I never did," I said calmly. "And the money? That was never a loan. You just took it." Madeline looked like she might throw up. I stepped back from the mic. "That's all. Enjoy the rest of your night." I walked off stage. Behind me, the room erupted, voices rising, chairs scraping, someone shouting for a lawyer, and then clapping. Slow, deliberate. I turned. Brian stood in the back, smiling. I nodded once, and walked out into the night. The morning of the launch party, I woke up before sunrise. Not out of nerves, out of habit. I'd spent the last few months rising early, grinding through code before anyone else was awake. But today, there was nothing left to build, just something to finish. I made tea, sat by the window, and watched the city stretch into daylight. Then I opened my laptop and checked the account. The money had landed, $12 million, verified, wired, done. I closed it and stood up. Time to get dressed. I chose a black jumpsuit again, clean, tailored, professional. No jewellery except a thin gold bracelet, hair slicked back. No distractions, just clarity. When I walked into the venue, the energy hit me like a wall. The rooftop buzzed with music and ambition. Everyone was dressed like they were already rich. Waiters passed around champagne and tiny hors d'oeuvres on silver trays. The WCS logo was projected onto the far wall, looping like a screensaver. Nick was holding court near the bar, laughing too loud, gesturing with a glass in hand. Madeline stood beside him in a cream pantsuit, nodding like she was born to be admired. When they saw me, Nick's face lit up. "There she is, the woman of the hour." I raised an eyebrow. "Didn't know I was the guest of honour." "Your family," he said, kissing my cheek. "Of course you are." Madeline smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You look amazing." "Thanks." I glanced around. "Big turnout. Investors, media, influencers," she said. "Everyone who matters." I spotted Sawyer near the back, talking to someone in a navy suit. He caught my eye and gave a polite nod. I nodded back. Nick clapped his hands. "All right, everyone. We're about to kick things off. Let's gather near the stage." People moved toward the front. I stayed near the edge, sipping water, watching. Nick took the mic, his voice amplified across the rooftop. "Thank you all for coming. Tonight is the culmination of 2 years of hard work, sacrifice, and relentless vision. We built WCS from nothing, just 2 people with a dream and a whiteboard." Madeline joined him, beaming. "We're not just launching a product, we're launching a movement. Privacy reimagined, security made simple." Applause. Nick turned to me, grinning. "And now, my incredible wife Marlene has something she wants to say. She's been with us since the beginning, and we're lucky to have her." He stepped aside, handing me the mic. I walked up slowly, took it without looking at him, and turned to the crowd. "Thanks, Nick. And thank you all for being here. I do have something to share tonight." I pulled the USB from my pocket and held it up. "Just a few slides. Shouldn't take long." I walked to the AV table. The tech guy looked unsure. "It's already queued. Just hit enter," I said. He did. The screen behind me flickered, then lit up with a clean white background and bold black text. "Either AI acquires Ghostlock for $12 million. There was a beat of silence, then murmurs. I turned back to the crowd. "Ghostlock is a self-learning privacy assistant. It blocks threats before you even know they exist. I built it, alone, and yesterday Ether AI bought it. I clicked to the next slide. Screenshots of the app, the test results, the press coverage. This is what I've been working on for the last 2 years, while Nick and Madeline were using my savings to build this company. Gasps. A few people turned toward Nick and Madeline. I clicked again. A spreadsheet appeared. Here are the bank transfers, all from my personal accounts, all without my consent, totaling $183,000. Each row scrolled slowly. Date, amount, receiving account. I let it hang there. I trusted them. I shared everything, my ideas, my money, and they used it without telling me, then erased me from the story. The crowd was dead silent. Sawyer stepped forward, arms crossed. Is this real? Nick's voice cracked. We didn't steal anything. We just borrowed. You never asked, I said, cutting him off. You never even acknowledged it. Madeline looked pale. We were going to include you. We just weren't ready. I laughed once. You were ready for podcasts, ready to pitch investors, just not ready to tell the truth. Sawyer turned to Nick. You told me this was self-funded. Nick's mouth opened, then closed. Sawyer looked at Madeline. And you said it was your original concept. She stared at the ground. I stepped away from the mic. That's all. Enjoy your evening. I walked off stage. The crowd buzzed behind me. Questions, whispers, the sound of a room unravelling. Then clapping, slow, steady. I turned. Brian stood near the back, arms crossed, smiling. I walked toward him. That was surgical, he said. You good? I am now. We left the party together, not as a couple, not as anything defined. Just two people who knew the truth. Behind us, the rooftop lights flickered, and somewhere in the distance, the sound of everything they built began to crack. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Text after text. Notifications stacked like bricks. Some from unknown numbers, some from people I hadn't heard from in years. Selena. You broke the internet. That video is everywhere. Brian. Sawyer walked out, full-on stormed out. You okay? Jeremiah. Hi, I'm a tech journalist with The Circuit. Would love to interview you about Ghostlock and the launch party incident. I ignored them all and made coffee. I had no regrets. But I wasn't ready to explain myself to the world just yet. Nick, of course, didn't wait. He called 5 times, then texted. Nick. You humiliated us. What the hell were you thinking? Nick. We could have worked something out. You didn't have to go nuclear. Nick. You ruined everything. I didn't respond. Around noon, someone knocked on my door. I opened it to find Madeline standing there, sunglasses on, hair pulled into a tight bun. Can we talk? She asked. I stepped aside without a word. She walked in like she still lived there, looked around like she expected something to be different. It's quiet, she said. I sat on the couch. What do you want? She took off her sunglasses and sat across from me. I didn't come to fight. Then what? She sighed. I didn't think it would go that far. I didn't think you'd expose us like that. I stared at her. You didn't think I'd stand up for myself. She swallowed. We messed up, okay? I know that. But you didn't have to burn it all down. You stole from me. We were going to pay you back. You didn't even tell me. You lied. You left me out of everything. Madeline looked down at her hands. I was jealous. You were always the smart one, the one who could build things. I just wanted something of my own. So you took mine. She didn't answer. I stood up. You should go. She looked up. That's it? You're just done with us? There's nothing left to say. She stood, walked to the door, then paused. You could have been part of it, Marlene. You still could be. I opened the door. I already am. Just not with you. She left without another word. That night, I logged into my bank account to check something and saw a scheduled transfer for $30,000, set to process the next morning. One last attempt to drain me. I clicked cancel. No ceremony, no note, just a clean break. The next day, Selena called. You ready to talk to the press? She asked. I guess I have to be. I've got Jeremiah from The Circuit lined up. He's solid. He'll treat the story with respect. Okay, I said. Set it up. We met at a quiet cafe downtown. Jeremiah was already there, notebook open, voice recorder ready. He stood to shake my hand. Thanks for meeting me. Thanks for reaching out. He clicked the recorder on. Let's start with GhostLock. What made you build it? I smiled. I wanted to protect people from being exploited. Turns out that included myself. He chuckled. Fair enough. And the launch party? Was that planned? Down to the minute. He leaned in. Why now? Why not go to the police or sue? I didn't want revenge, I said. I wanted truth. Public, undeniable truth. He nodded, scribbling notes. After the interview, he shook my hand again. You're going to be a legend in tech circles. Just wait. I watched him walk away, feeling something shift inside me. Not pride, not relief, just peace. The article dropped 3 days later. The wife, the sister, and the code. How one woman reclaimed her story. It went viral within hours. GhostLock downloads skyrocketed. Ether's stock jumped. And WCS? Investors pulled out. Lawsuits were rumoured. Their social media pages went dark. Nick texted again. Nick, you win. Hope it was worth it. I didn't reply. Instead, I poured myself a drink, sat on the balcony of my new condo, and watched the city lights flicker below. I wasn't celebrating. I was just breathing, free, for the first time in a long time. Madeline showed up again, but this time she knocked like she wasn't sure she should. I opened the door halfway. You lost your key, remember? She gave me a tired smile. I'm not here to fight. You said that last time. I mean it this time. I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, like the floor might collapse under her. She looked different, less polished, more real. Hair in a loose ponytail, no makeup. Hoodie instead of a blazer. I just came from a meeting, she said, sitting on the edge of the couch. Sawyer's out. He pulled everything. Said we misrepresented the company. You did. She nodded. Yeah. I stayed standing. So what now? We're done, Marlene. The board's dissolving the company. Investors are threatening legal action. Nick's already lawyering up. I raised an eyebrow. And you? I don't know. I might move. Start over somewhere. I crossed my arms. Why are you really here? She looked up at me, eyes red. Because I wanted to say I'm sorry. Not for the company, not for the money, for what I did to you. I didn't say anything. I was jealous, she said. You were always the one who had real talent. I just talked pretty. I didn't think you'd ever actually finish that app. I didn't think you'd fight back. You didn't think I mattered, I said. No, she whispered. I didn't. And I hate that. I sat across from her. You didn't just hurt me. You erased me. You and Nick made me feel invisible in my own life. I know, her voice cracked. I lost you. I lost everything. I let the silence stretch. Then I stood. I hope you figure out who you are without stealing it from someone else. She nodded. I deserve that. She walked to the door, then turned. You were always the better one. I didn't respond. She left. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Nick. You ruined my life. Nick. We could have been fine. You didn't have to go public. Nick. You think you're some kind of hero? You're just bitter. I blocked his number. That night, I got another call. Selena. You're trending again, she said. Jeremiah's article hit international outlets. People are calling you the next tech disruptor. I laughed. That's insane. It's true. And guess what? I've got 2 companies asking if you're open to partnerships. I leaned back in my chair. Maybe. You earned this, Marlene. All of it. Thanks, Selena. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet, watching the city outside my window. Then a notification popped up. Scheduled transfer, $30,000 pending. I stared at it. It was set to process the next morning. From my old joint account to a WCS-linked business card. One last attempt. I opened the banking app, clicked cancel. Then I closed the account entirely. Just like that, the last thread was cut. No more shared anything. No more second chances. The next morning, Brian stopped by with coffee. "You look lighter," he said, handing me the cup. "I feel lighter." He sat on the couch, kicking off his shoes. "So what now?" "I don't know," I said. "I've got options." He smiled. "You always did. You just stopped seeing them." I looked at him. "Thanks for believing in me." He shrugged. "You didn't need me to. You just needed someone to remind you." We sat in silence for a while, sipping coffee. Then he asked, "Would you ever build something new?" I smiled. "Maybe." He raised his cup. "To version 2.0. I clinked mine against his, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. I was sitting on the balcony, tea in hand, when the email came in. Subject: Partnership Inquiry. Interested in Ghost Lock expansion. I opened it, read the first few lines, and smiled. Another company, another offer. This one from a cybersecurity firm out of Toronto. They wanted to collaborate, maybe even license the AI core. I didn't reply right away. I just closed the laptop and let the breeze hit my face. The city below moved like it always did. Fast, loud, alive. But up here, it was quiet, peaceful. Someone knocked on the door. I stood, walked across the condo and opened it. Selena stood there, holding a bottle of wine and a bag of takeout. "I brought Thai and a reason to celebrate." "You always bring the right things," I said, stepping aside. She walked in, dropped the bag on the counter and looked around. "Damn, this place is sleek. You're living like a Bond villain." "Minus the villain part." She grinned. "Debatable." We ate on the floor, legs crossed, curtains open between us. "So," she said, mouth half full of pad CU, "what's next?" "I've been thinking about that," I said. "I don't want to sell Ghost Lock, not all of it. I want to grow it, hire a team, build something that doesn't need to lie to survive." Selena raised her glass. "To doing it your way." We clinked. After dinner, she helped me clean up, then grabbed her bag. "By the way," she said, pausing at the door, "I got a call from someone at a speaker agency. They want you at a Women in Tech event next month." I laughed. "Me? On stage?" "You've already done it once," she said. "And you crushed it." I nodded. "Send me the details." She winked. "Look at you. CEO vibes." After she left, I sat down at my desk and opened the laptop again. I pulled up Ghostlock's dashboard. User numbers were still climbing. Feedback was pouring in. People were calling it life-changing. Essential. Finally, something that puts us first. Then I clicked into the admin panel and opened a new user profile. Name: Madeline. Status: deleted. Access: revoked. I hovered over the button for a second, then clicked. Confirm. Done. Another notification popped up. Jeremiah. Quick update. Nick's being investigated for fraud. One of the investors filed a complaint. Looks like it's getting serious. I typed back. Me. Thanks for the heads up. I didn't feel joy or pity, just closure. Another message came through. This one from Brian. Brian. Dinner this weekend. I found a place that serves the best birria tacos. Me. Only if you promise not to talk about firewalls. Brian. No promises. I smiled. Set the phone down. The past few weeks had been a storm. But now, it was quiet. I walked back onto the balcony, tea in hand again. The sun was setting, casting gold across the buildings. A part of me still ached. Not for them, Nick or Madeline, but for who I used to be. The woman who second-guessed herself, who waited for permission, who thought loyalty was more important than truth. She was gone now. In her place was someone new. Someone who knew that karma didn't always show up with thunder. Sometimes it logged in quietly, ran the code, and executed with precision. My phone buzzed again. Another email. Another opportunity. I opened it, read the subject line, and laughed. Subject: Ghostlock 2.0. Interested in beta testing? I typed back. Me. Let's build something better.